Y'all, let me tell you something I learned the hard way. Climbing the wrong ladder in your career will have you feeling like a failure every time, okay? So even if you're doing everything right, you will feel like a failure because you're not in the right space you need to be in. I've experienced this so many times. I've been fired, I've been laid off, I've been burnt out, at one point completely disconnected from the work that I was doing. But the real issue was that I was climbing someone else's version of success versus my own. So let's talk about that. So I spent years in the financial industry, and I think that on paper it looked secure. It was a stable paycheck, growth opportunities, or what it seemed like, and all of that. But it felt like a slow death. Like, I know that's like super dramatic, but that's what it felt like at certain times in my career, a slow and painful death. And I had no passion for what I was doing in certain aspects of my career when I worked in the financial industry. Now, there was a time where I was just like, yeah, I'm rocking it, I'm killing it, I'm doing well. But there were certain positions in the financial industry that were absolutely not for me, and I was forcing it just because of the perception that everyone had regarding me working in the financial industry and finance and private wealth and all these things. But I wasn't connected to the work at all. And then, it came to a point where I'm just like, am I good enough for this? Or is it me? Or am I the problem? And I traditionally did not major in finance. It just happened that when I was in graduate school, I was working at a bank as a teller, and then I just slowly started to build up in my career from that starting point as a teller. And initially, what I went to school for was to go to law school, and that changed. And then I was in graduate school getting my Spanish degree for, translation and interpretation and, and transcripting, and I don't know what I was doing with that, but that didn't work out. And then ultimately I got my MBA. And I think if I would have started with business first, or something within media, business, marketing, that may have been more aligned with everything that I'm interested in today. But hey, I'm not knocking my journey, but I also wish that I would have just taken a pause and figured out what truly I was passionate about, because it was always obvious for me when it came to the creative side. I just didn't think that I was going to be able to make some money doing any of the stuff that I had in mind. So looking back, of course, the issue wasn't my work ethic. It was just truly misalignment. All it was misalignment, because work ethic, your girl got it, okay? I mean, clearly, I'm here with you every Friday posting these videos. I work full time. I'm a single mother. I'm raising my 4-year-old son. I'm doing all the things, and I'm still very committed to this creative process because I love it so much, right? But separately from that, work ethic has never been my thing. I've worked 2 and 3 jobs, at one point, in my life. I don't mind working. I really enjoy it. But when I started to pay attention to what was out of sync for me, it was always okay, maybe it's the culture, maybe it's the mission, maybe it's all of the things that this industry doesn't present for me, but yet I'm forcing it, right? And then that will wear on you over time. So when I was working in the banking industry, retail banking was definitely not for me. I absolutely hated working in retail banking. I was a teller, and that was okay while I was in grad school. And then I went into being a personal banker. And the bank that I used to work for at the time, when I tell you they wanted you to be a shark, they wanted you to be a shark. You were to open those checking accounts regardless of whether or not it was best for the customer. It didn't matter. You got to get those numbers. And I absolutely hated that, because I felt like we were doing wrong by people by knowing that ultimately there were going to be charge fees, there were going to be paying fees, and all the things, right? So that ended quickly, and I got fired from that job as a personal banker, because over time, my lack of passion for the work showed. I was very rebellious. I didn't do any of the cold calling. I didn't even want to practice how I would sell certain accounts. I didn't care. And then I was in a very up and down relationship, at the time when I was a personal banker, and that started to bleed into my personal life, started to bleed into my work life. So I was late for work, I was crying and upset, super distracted, so they fired me, and I couldn't be happier. So I got fired from that job, and then I ended up still in banking for a few more years, ended up in treasury and implementation and project management. And that's where I started to like my work, because I was really supporting some big accounts like, some Facebook and Boeing and all these big companies. And it was cool. Like, the work that I was doing was technology driven, which a little bit let me exercise that creative side of me. But then at the same time, I ran into a snag again, because morally, I ran into a situation where I found out that I was supporting a client that was directly tied to the profit of prisons, right? And I felt ethically wrong about that. Like, I'm managing these projects and these treasury initiatives that this client has, and they're actively profiting from the imprisonment of people that look like me. And I could not morally accept that. And I think it was 13th by Ava DuVernay that exposed me to that. Literally, the company that I was supporting in my portfolio showed up on the screen during that documentary, and I was like, oh, hell no. I cannot support this. I will not support this. I can't. This is unethical, blah, blah, blah. So when I went to my manager at the time and let him know, like, yo, this makes me feel uncomfortable, I cannot. I will not. They were like, yeah, so they really like you, and you're on this account, so you need to decide if you want a job or you don't, because you're going to be on this account. And I was just like, damn. Okay. So needless to say, I stayed there for a little longer, and then I found something else. But even with that job, I was there for 4 years. I gave them 4 years of my time, independent of that situation that really happened towards like the last year of me working for them. I will say that what really pushed me to get out was that I was doing all the things. I was getting awards, and I was getting all of this acknowledgement for all of these scores and things like that I was getting from my clients, and all of this praise, but they would not give me a raise. They would not give me the title that I wanted. I wanted to be senior. They wouldn't give me that. And then it's like they were patting me on the back like, you're doing great, and you are managing the biggest account that we have in treasury revenue. But then it would not translate into anything else other than like a certificate. And it really pissed me off, because I would see others that didn't necessarily look like me just rise on up, no problem. Then I learned of what other people were coming in making, and I was like way below that, and that was on me because I didn't know how to negotiate at the time. And I was like, oh, okay, I see you, bet. So over time, I was just like, to hell with this, I'm out, and I left. Then I went to the hedge fund space, and that was cool. Got to learn a little bit about like private institutions and colleges and like big wealthy money people or institutions as well, and companies essentially profit off of the money that they were investing. But you know what really bothered me in that space is that financially, as much as I was around millions of dollars in what I was managing, whether operationally or from a mental implementation standpoint, I was not making anything near what I should have been in certain roles to complement that. Like, people would look at me like, oh, you work in private wealth, or oh, you're in hedge fund services. Oh my God. But I wasn't making that money like that, like, gosh. Bonuses were nice here and there, and I would say in the hedge fund space, they were much better than what I was in treasury. But given the amount of work that I was putting in when I worked in treasury, like late night sometimes, these aggressive project timelines, all of these accounts and all of these projects that I had in my portfolio, and the money that I left on the table and the money that they should have been paying me is like really disrespectful. It's just so disrespectful. So even though like the financial industry has this like, this allure behind it, like unless you're like an executive, the money you making is not comparable to the money you'll be managing sometimes, or the account types that you'll be managing. And it is so discouraging to know that you're managing millions of dollars for people, and I would not claim this, but some people feel like they will never reach that. I'm like, oh no, I don't know. It really messes with your mind. So after I decided to exit the hedge fund space, even then, in banking altogether, I think there was a nagging around COVID time. There was a nagging and pressing thing that made me feel like I needed a change, and probably because at the time, everything regarding the things happening in my marriage were revealed, and I needed a change completely, and I ran into this tech opportunity and started working for a tech company for software as a service. And then that's when I'm just like, oh, that's when the creative side of me really got the opportunity to shine, because I'm just like, oh, the technology piece, the creativity, the presentations. And then I was I was managing a portfolio of clientele that were related to everyday things that I do, right? So stores that I shop at, and makeup that I use, and loyalty programs that I'm a part of. And that was super duper 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 cool. And to be able to lead that and manage that, and then be the manager of those of these type of relationships and manage people. I think I've always been a natural born leader. So to have that experience really, really allowed me to expand myself and realize that there's a world beyond this financial world that I felt like I was stuck in at one point. And I was able to finally blend my curiosity for technology with my creative instincts. It was so cool. I'm grateful that for whatever reason, I would say partly my divorce and partly being a new mother and needing something to shift outside of all the hurtful things that were happening in my life. I got the bug to change careers at that moment because it was perfect for me. And I started to find my stride a little bit. I was like, okay, here we go, right? Projects that I was a part of started to make sense. The pace excited me. Tech is fast as hell. It is so fast. And I could see some of the value that I brought. I was able to start including myself a lot more intentionally in a lot of DEI work, which I am very passionate about and still to this day am, immerse myself in. But even then, life was lifing, and I could not deny that. And I was in this deep custody battle. And I feel like some of the distraction caused by my personal life, the grind of having to keep up in this fast-paced technology world at that time, felt very unsustainable. And then I was laid off. So that's the part where I'm just like, ooh, in your career, you really, really got to be careful where you're aligning yourself with and what companies you're aligning yourself with at certain times in your life, because you will find yourself in predicaments just because of the state of the economy, and there's literally nothing you can do about it. So when I was laid off, it honestly felt like failure again, because I was already struggling with everything I was enduring in my custody battle, and then here comes the break that I needed, but it's just bad timing because the finances I needed the finances to be right. I'm already paying for this attorney, life, my son's in daycare, and then here I am duking it out in court with my ex-husband, and I'm just like, life always feels like it's just bad timing. But it is what it is, right? You kind of gotta roll with the punches, and just keep it pushing. So now, fast forward, it took me just maybe 3 or 4 months to get my new role, and oh my God, I'm so grateful that I do really well with networking and just figuring out this life of connection and relationship, because that is what allowed me to land my next role pretty seamlessly when a lot of people that were laid off with me just were really struggling. So I am so grateful that I have a good tribe, and they really helped me nail things down. Now I work in the beauty industry on the digital and tech side of the consumer experience, and I will tell you that I love it. Beauty has always been adjacent in my life, like the beauty industry, beauty world, okay? I was a freelance makeup artist when I was in grad school, and I wish I would have stuck with it because I really, really, really had a passion for it. I enjoyed it. I love makeup. I love all the things. Anything beauty, I'm all for. You know, I don't mind doing my own hair. I experiment. So I think that, you know, the universe has its way of realigning everything, right? I talked about misalignment earlier, and then now where I am in my life, it feels like things are realigning itself to really allow for the creative side, the tech side, the digital side of me to soar. Right? And it's awesome. Like, I'm like, wow, like it took so many, to me it felt like almost a decade to finally get right back into the space of me feeling like I'm in the right place in my career. And it's awesome to be here. But I will say that in this life, you don't necessarily have to choose one or the other, right? Like, I think that you can find a way to merge the worlds that you feel passionate about in your career. And I always joke that I'm the queen of the pivot because I know friends that have been attorneys for however many years, and that's what they do, and they practice this particular thing. I have friends that are in the, you know, in medicine, and you know, they're specific to a surgeon, or they're an OBGYN and this is what they do and they've always known. And me, I feel a little bit like of a wanderlust. Like, I like to try so many things, and I'm glad that where I am right now in my life, I'm able to combine my passion for beauty and media and content, understanding what the consumer journey is and storytelling and the experience and things like that. And part of me even doing this YouTube channel is me exploring that side of me creatively that I've always wanted to just branch out with. I ain't gonna hold you. When I was a makeup artist, freelancing, I wanted to have a YouTube channel just talking about makeup and showing how to do makeup, and that was years ago before YouTube became the place for everybody's like curiosity on how to do something or a DIY, right? And I can kick myself for not taking that seriously at the time. And I think, you know, maybe like my laptop that I had at the time, I felt like it wasn't good enough, and you know, cell phones were not as developed from a camera or, you know, as a resource at that time. But I always had a little Canon. I always had me the latest and greatest camera, and I could have just taken that opportunity, and I never did. So this right now that I'm doing is kind of like me satisfying that in some weird way. And I'm glad that I decided to go ahead and just tap into that world because I'm enjoying it to no end. So let me tell you, if you're out here questioning your path, if you ever felt like a failure after a layoff or a misstep or anything like that, breathe. Like, take a breather. And you might be climbing up the wrong ladder. And trust me, there's no shame in you pivoting. Absolutely no shame in you pivoting. Your purpose will always find its way back to you. Like, it will be knocking on your door. Like, you will literally dream about it. People will ask about it. Like, hey, whatever happened to when you used to da-da-da? Or whatever happened to when you used to like doing this? And you'll be like, okay. It'll be knocking on your door. It'll be asking you to come back, and you will find your way. When you're brave enough to stop trying to perform and start aligning, you will absolutely get to feel like the excitement again in working and enjoying your career. And honestly, I don't know that I have aspirations of becoming this mega influencer and quitting my job, because I really do like to work, and I don't understand how some influencers are going to be able to sustain this life of influencing. So I'm like, I'm cool doing my job. I'm cool having my benefits, and I'm also cool doing this on the side because I just like the stability that brings me. And if there comes a time where this pays more than what I'm doing, then I'll explore that. But right now, this is what is giving me enjoyment. This is what I strive to continue to do. And if you have a burning desire that you want to try to intermix with your career, please do it. Do it scared. Just do it and step out on faith. Bet on yourself, okay? All right. So if this resonated, Please leave a comment below, share your own career pivot journey, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, because these are all conversations we need more of, all right? So you can find me on all social media handles shared there, and I will catch you in the next video, okay? All right. Bye!